state legislator from Rosemount and Apple Valley. I was elected in 2010. I'll tell you a little bit about that. But even tomorrow morning, actually, in a few hours here, I'll go to my first hour class. I teach full-time at Rosemount High School. I teach economics there, and then I still teach my advanced placement micro and macroeconomics course every morning before I go to the state legislature and try to teach the DFL a little bit of economics. I try to, but I've always clung in this journey. I've clung to that idea of a citizen legislator, somebody who has what they do, whether you're a farmer, you're a teacher, you're a business owner, you're retired, you're a stay-at-home mom or dad, and then you go and serve, and that's who you are, and you take that with you. So that's been very important to me. If you can think about what it's been like for me, 15 years of teaching economics, and so especially the last 6, as you're looking into the eyes of kids, 17 and 18-year-olds, as they learn about these things. And one thing that I did up in CD7, but I'll do it again, I'll do it everywhere until everybody takes it to every friend they have, is you gotta think about numbers, the big numbers that I deal with in my class, okay? So in order to get these 17 and 18-year-olds to realize how big these numbers are, I do have some tools in my toolbox that I use. And the first day of school, I actually asked, guys, 1 million seconds ago, when was it? And just do it. Anybody remember from up in Alexandria? 1 million seconds ago, it was 11 and a half days ago. That's 1 million seconds ago. 1 billion seconds ago, it was late 1980, 31.7 years. So that's the difference. Then I ask them, so you still think a millionaire and a billionaire is the same thing? No, not at all. So a million seconds ago, 11 and a half days. A billion seconds ago, late 1980. A trillion seconds ago was 29,688 BC. That's 1 trillion seconds ago. That's 31,700 years, roughly. That's what you can do. And so if you do that with high school seniors, when you get to studying the debt and the printed money and then the trade deficits and all of these, the entitlements and things that they will never see, then they have questions. And they have great questions. And they have questions that Amy Klobuchar needs to answer this coming election cycle. And by the way, there's one more I can do for you. It's our national debt's 15.7 trillion. That would be 689 years ago. Or I'm sorry, no, that's BC. Sorry, that's 495,678 BC, if you count it backwards. So one specific question in 2008 actually led me to get involved. A really bright, intellectual kid, politically motivated high school senior in the middle of my room just finally raised his hand and said, Mr. Bills, what are we supposed to do about this? And that was the question that really just punched me right in the stomach. It knocked the wind right out of me. Because here I stood teaching all of these things. But they're seeing the greatest deficit of all, and that's a deficit of leadership, is that there's nobody willing to make the changes in the system. Nobody's willing to say no to these things, like Tom Emmer's talking about. You're not willing to go. And as a public school teacher, I understand that if we don't have a private sector, you won't collect the tax revenue to run the school. So, and trust me, I have people in my walk who now won't look at me. And they're usually the ones who preach tolerance in their classroom. You know, so I walk down, you know what I do to them anyway? Hey, how you doing today? They don't want to look at you. But you go to the teacher's lounge anyway, and it's 4 or 5 of them on one. They don't win. Because you get it to mathematics. You talk about logic. You talk about reason. Instead of just emotional everything. Everything's on the emotional side with that side of the equation. So in 2008, I ran for city council thinking, okay, I'll try to go do something about it. And there were 26 people who ran for 2 spots in 2008 in Rosemount. And I ran with $500 budget. That's all my wife would let me spend. And she's a wise woman. And I didn't even have a yard sign. But I was a top vote getter. Because being a teacher and a coach, parent-teacher conferences are like, door knocking in reverse. So they just come to you. So it was like cheating. fixed up. We paid down debt early, and with that savings, we were able to lower the tax rate in 08 and 09, which were tough years for local governments because of the housing crunch and everything. And we started a youth commission so that young people could get involved and have a voice in government. And then in 2010, I ran for the state legislature, seeing the $6.2 billion problem coming. I thought, well, what the heck? I'll go be a part of that. And I'd love to bring my skills to bear on the problems that they were having in state government. And I ran against a really well-liked DFL incumbent. Great guy, taught his kids. And then I taught him something. So I beat him by 15 points. I beat him by 15 points, an incumbent DFLer. And all I did was I walked around about 3,000 miles probably, but I kept walking all summer long, and I kept talking to people about spending. Because I had a graph that showed that our per capita adjusted for inflation spending had grown by roughly 500% since 1960. And I'd show people what that was, and they'd say, well, yeah, but the population's grown. I said, well, it's per capita. It's already adjusted. Well, yeah, but prices go up. Well, it's adjusted for inflation. And then I get to ask a question, Are you 500% better off than you were in 1960? Probably not. So then we get to talk about the spending, right? And the spending side of that. And education and all these other things that we spend a ton of money on. And I get to give them my perspective. So I did that and got involved, and I think that if a city government can pay down debt and a state government can pull down these trend lines, and we're not getting down far enough yet, but we sure are trying, and if people like you get involved, we'll do it, then we can take that to Washington, D.C., and we can do that as well. And that's what this process has been about for me. And there's great men running. Pete Hegseth and Dan Severson are some of the great, and Harold, who's not here tonight, but I love Harold, and he's a perennial candidate, and he's from Apple Valley, and I love him a lot. But it's great guys. So you're gonna have a tough choice. But for me, I can't look back. I didn't go there to sit in office for a long time. I went there to provide an example for young people to get involved. And so the next time some kid asks me, Mr. Bills, what are we supposed to do? I can say, well, this is what I try to do. So you can learn from my example. You can go out and get involved. So I really hope you can. There's a couple other things too. I would say, Raleigh mentioned, I'm a union member. Okay, I graduated from high school. I didn't have enough money to go to college, so I had to use another specific set of skills that I had, and that is I have broad shoulders and I can throw really heavy things around. So I used to be able to. I don't know if I still could. I bet I could still do it. But I was in the laborers local 464 right out of high school, and then I was in the pipe covers local 394. I removed asbestos to help put myself through school. My dad's a retired fitter out of 392 down in Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm an Education Minnesota member, dues paying member. So I've been in a union since I was 18, but I'm a co-author on the Right to Work Amendment. So there's specific things that I can talk about. I can say things like Chip Kravac could, because he was a union steward. And you can get into populations of people that you don't normally get into. And even being a public school teacher, I just dream about the headline, Republican Party endorses public school teacher. Because that's a real man bites dog story. I mean, somebody's going to pick up the newspaper and read about that. And then they're going to talk about just the basic economics of what I want to bring to this election cycle. And that's going to get us in the door. So that's a little bit about me. You get behind me, I'll take Econ 101 all the way to Washington. And I appreciate this time that I've had to spend with you. So have a good night.
Next fellow up is